participate in activities around the world that are aimed at safer internet use. I am delighted to see all of you on this call, and I look forward to enjoying great discussions with all of you. I will plead that we all stick to the times that we are allotted to so that we could have the program end at the appropriate time. So, ladies and gentlemen, to begin, we will take some opening remarks. And first, I will call on Madam Aida Amenya from the Child Online Africa. Over to you, please.
All right, thank you, Sam. Together for a better internet, indeed. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone connecting from other parts of Africa. Indeed, it's an honor and a privilege to welcome you to this Africa Safer Internet Day Forum. It has been a conversation that is ongoing, and we are still making the best to ensure that we have all Africans connecting and sharing ideas and views and all of what have you. It's a conversation we want to have to see how we could address the potholes and the reckless driving which goes on the information superhighway. But that is not to say that we're just looking at the risk, but we are even looking at opportunities, and we are also looking at how best we can improve our skills and the skills of young people in Ghana and in Africa. So it is our hope that by the end of our session today, with the different stakeholders that we have on board coming to share perspective on things, we will take a thing or two, which will go to influencing our conversations at country levels, which should then benefit the African child. And so we Africans stay committed to the discussion of online safety and provision of the right tools for young people. It'll be very difficult for us to make the most of the space because, again, the platform provides opportunities for everyone, but then we don't have equal skills that will take us there. So for us, it's a pleasure to team up with strategic partners in getting this conversation across today. And it's been one of the inspirations to have a homegrown solution, a solution which is influenced by our cultural values and will inure to the benefit of the child, and by extension, promoting the Africa we want as people. So on this note, I will just highlight 3 key things that we're doing as part of the celebration for this year. We're holding the country level events with some of our partners who will be acknowledged in the course of the discussion. And we also have, we've launched the Scorecard, community Scorecard, which is to assess the infrastructure at the community level, which is either contributing or promoting well-being of children and young people in Africa. And again, today, as digital intelligence partners, we are also promoting the digital citizenship test, which is also to help people to know their levels of digital literacy and responsible use. So I might be sharing that link in the chat in the course of the conversation. So on this note, I wouldn't want to talk much. I'm not supposed to give opening remarks. Mr. Omo is supposed to do that. So I would say that you are welcome once again. And the Africa we want is in our hands, and it will take us to make it happen. So you're welcome. Enjoy the program, and all the best. Thank you. Sam, over to you.
Thank you so much, Awo, for that brief introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, before I move on to introduce Mr. John Omo, I would like to take the opportunity to acknowledge our coordinators, initiators, and partners for today's program. Today's event is brought to us by the Child Online Africa, the International Telecommunications Union Regional Office for Africa, and Africa Telecommunications Union. And we have the following as our partners for today's event: Africa Digital Rights Hub, the Nigerian Communications Commission, MTN Ghana, Innovari, Department of Children, and the Head of State's Award Scheme. And then we have supporting partners in SIMA Tanzania, like a Palm Tree Foundation, Trace Kenya, Ministry of ICT Sierra Leone, ZICTA, ZTech Foundation, Cyber Security Authority of Ghana, DQ Institute, and of course, Rakode Foundation. And so, ladies and gentlemen, on this note, I'll move on to introduce Mr. John Omo to give us a remark. So Mr. John Omo is currently the Secretary General of the Africa Telecommunications Union. And over the past 30 or so years, has been contributing immensely to the development of local and international policies, legislations, agreements, and treaties in all areas of public service life, but mainly in the area of ICTs. And then prior to his current role, he was Kenya's ICT regulator.
Maybe we leave it there and get the participants to see whether the content of what I will give is worth that long accolade.
All right. So ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. John.
Yeah, it is certainly a pleasure for me to be here, Madam Mao, the CEO of Online Africa. I'm sure if she is not here, she will be joining us. Our friend and great supporter in these matters, Madam and Rachel Ine of the ITU, who is also the ITU's Regional Director for Africa. Various partners that are involved, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the African Telecommunications Union, I'm certainly very excited that the Africa Safer Internet Day planning team and partners have extended this opportunity to me to be part of a Safer Internet Day global celebration. I say that with a lot of nostalgia because I think, especially for the partners that were mentioned earlier on by the MC, if you are not involved in an activity such as this on such a day, then I don't know what activity would entice you. Because for us at the ITU, the work that or the discussions that will be ensuing in this dialogue to a very large extent falls within our mandate, and for me as an African is of interest to me because the future is in our children. In today's world, billions of gigabytes are used across with every passing minute. And this is just but a matter of how much, of our lives rotates around the internet. In today's world, most of our basic everyday activities are in many, many ways internet enabled. And those include, for example, financial transactions, shopping, movement, and transportation, connection with our friends, family, associates at work, entertainment, amongst many other services. And like any successful space, the cyberspace is prone to an array of dangers, which dangers we cannot allow in our midst, more so because the internet is part and parcel of our lives, and it then means that in accessing and using the internet, we have the opportunity to interact with and encounter these dangers on not just an hourly basis, but sometimes minute by minute. It is our duty to ensure that any ideas related to social engineering aimed at gaining unauthorized access to data, identity theft, bullying, location tracking, and phishing, just to mention, but these few are dealt with. And for that, we do not need any external force or cajoling, given that we are already motivated on our own by the very negative impact that those types of threats expose to our well-being and indeed our networks. The fact that the campaign to inspire positive change online and raise awareness on online safety issues attract the involvement of so many people, including countries, private enterprise, civic society organizations every year is, for me, a very encouraging fact. It is encouraging because it recognizes the power of cooperation rather than competition between various actors, and which then can bring to bear in ensuring that the internet is safe. Also encouraging for me is the focus on digital index measurement with specific attention to child online safety and digital enablement and resilience. And that's encouraging to me because I think we need to process and manage data in a way that informs positive decision making for various actors, be they governments, be they private enterprise, be they civil societies, or even users themselves. Statistically, the virtual world still takes second place to the real world as the place to accomplish a number of our daily and routine tasks. And the two are really not in competition. And so similar to how we strive to enrich security in our real world, the cyberspace must also be accorded the same effort, if not more. And that's more so the case since over the past decade, African leaders working with various local and international partners have made great strides in making the internet accessible for the continent's 1.4 billion people. But with just 22% internet connectivity, that is for Africa, the continent still remains significantly behind other world regions. But that in itself does not mean that we must be left behind when it comes to dialoguing on internet safety and related issues. There is already a substantial appreciation in the value of internet in today's world, even in many of our rural communities. A recent World Bank study estimates that Africa will require an investment of over 100 billion US dollars to plug every citizen to the net by the year 2030. In October last year, one US tech company announced that it had intended to invest 1 billion in Africa over the next 5 years. And so such opportunities will ensure that we access the internet in a fast and affordable manner, and that will support startups to aid the continent's digital transformation. And that will, significantly increase the continent's 22% coverage, which is the current figure. And that also means the number of people that will need protection in the cyberspace will increase, and therefore the capacity of the various firewalls that we create for that purpose. With the understanding that this audience are a representation of traditional and online media, policymakers, business leaders, educators, civil society experts, and researchers, I'm truly, truly convinced that it is the right audience to champion individual and institutional responsibility towards a safer internet space in Africa. The importance of the internet safety cannot be understated, as I've mentioned, and it is critical indeed that all users not only feel safe, but actually are safe. There are basic levels of understanding that most of us appreciate, but in reality, we need to do more in order to trickle down that sort of understanding and information to everyone that is involved. For example, it is important to have knowledge that generally internet does not harm us until we choose to react to suspicious content and websites that could cause harm. And that's why many of us find ourselves in danger when we are enticed to click links that could have adverse consequences. Whereas it is us who are taking the action to visit or click sites that may have undesirable content, it is also important for content creators, for content managers to understand the context in which this content is consumed. It is important to understand a people's culture. It is important to understand a people's norms and practices that are dear to them, so that whereas it is them to do the click, we also don't provide opportunities for exposure to clicking sites that are undesirable in accordance with their culture, norms, and practices. Through best practices being advanced towards achieving a better and safer internet for all, especially for children, which will be showcased here and we'll have a conversation on. It is our hope that the narrative after today will be different in the sense of its robustness, vigor, and agreement for joint action. I'm happy indeed that one of today's aims is a discussion to highlight some of the reporting channels in place for consumers to air their complaints for redress as part of digital education. I'm happy too that service providers, content creators, and networks are amidst us and will be discussing and sharing with us various measures that they have put in place in that regard. And so consequently, I urge all of us to make efforts in your individual and corporate spaces to ensure that whatever we will be discussing in this virtual room does not end here, but is carried as missionaries for good hope. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, as I like to say, everything that affects most of the people or all of the people cannot be perceived from a singular perspective. Let us not work in isolated cells and hope to solve a multi-angular problem individually. Just as we have met here today, drawn from different sectors and facets of our society with different knowledge sets and abilities, Let us put our best foot forward and cooperate rather than compete for our continent. A better and safer internet is a better and safer Africa for all of us. I thank you. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Omo. I'm sure we have learned very insightful things from your remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, we will proceed with the program. And at this juncture, we are going to have the keynote speech, originally to have been done by Ms. Anne Rachel, the Director of ITU Regional Office for Africa. But we have a very able gentleman in the person of Mr. Sheikh Valerie Zongo, who is cybersecurity lead at ITU Regional Office, to do this in her stead. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it is my singular honor to present to you Mr. Sheikh Valerie Zongo to give us the keynote address. Over to you, Sheikh.
Yeah, thank you, Samuel. Distinguished participants, thank you to Don Umo for this really insightful remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a real pleasure to join you here today at this Safer Internet Day 2022, being celebrated with the team Together for Better Internet, and deliver the keynote on behalf of ITU Regional Director of Africa, Mrs. Anne Rachel. In 2020, ITU data indicated that 71% of the world youth aged between 15 and 24 years were using the internet compared to 57% of the other age groups. On the global scale, young people were thus 1.24 times more likely to go online than the rest of the population. For Africa, this ratio was 1.47. This number illustrates that today, young people are most dynamic users of technologies. In addition, the COVID-19 pandemic forced our children to spend more time online and they turn into digital world for education and social activities. And this is therefore more important than ever that we all join our resources for a better internet for our youth and future generation. Safer Internet Day is an opportunity to put this community-led approach at work to encourage everyone to come together and play their part. Ladies and gentlemen, ITU is continuing the Child Online Protection Initiative as a platform to raise awareness on child online safety issues. ITU is continuing to assist, support its member states, especially developing countries, in developing and implementing roadmap for COP initiative. ITU is still continuing to be the Secretariat of the Council Working Group of Child Protection, an important platform to plan in shaping the policies that will influence the next generation. Today, 8 February 2022, ITU is also launching a partnership with Child Helpline International, Global Kids Online, IBM, the UN Office of the Secretariat of the Special Representative of the Secretary General on Violence Against Children, the Office of the UN Youth Envoy, UNICEF, and others to understand how children and youth are using the internet to access support and safety systems. We will kick off a mapping exercise through a survey that we will share with trust partners to collect the information. This work aligns with the trend of not only protecting, but also empowering children online through our activities and to support increasing opportunities that the internet offers to them. The information will soon be shared with other partners and members, and we are looking forward to including children and youth in this work as they inform the support processes needed to help them in ever-growing case of trauma. The COP initiatives, the Child Life Protection Initiative works with partners to develop cybersecurity strategies across this area and promote safe online environment for children around the world. Through set of guidelines that we just released, resource toolkits and activities with our partners, IT is working hard to minimize risk to children online, to risk on children online, and to ensure that the internet brings benefits to all the users. The new set of guidelines has been released, and some countries in the region already started translating them in the local language. In the region, for instance, we are working with Kenya, Malawi, and Chad in the near future to train the child online protection stakeholders groups and update or draft the child online protection national strategies. At the global level, we are working with some partners like UNICEF for a bigger impact of child online protection in our region. Ladies and gentlemen, building on the outcome of the Road to a Digital Development Series we start in 2020 to create momentum toward the WTDC that normally should be held 16 to 15 June 2002. The alignment of the VC's action line and the SDGs in close collaboration with the Office of the Secretary General Envoy on Technology, in line with the UN Secretary General Roadmap for Digital Cooperation, will IT launch the Partner to Connect Digital Coalition. This coalition is a multi-stakeholder alliance to foster meaningful connectivity and digital transformation globally, with a focus on, but not limited to, how to connect communities in the least development countries, landlocked development countries, and small island development states. The Partner to Connect Digital Coalition will serve as leadership level platform to engage all the stakeholders to mobilize and announce new resources, partnerships, and commitment to achieve universal and meaningful connectivity. You are more than welcome to this platform to work toward a meaningful connectivity for our children. The coalition is open to member states, private sector, including philanthropic organizations, UN agencies, and other international and regional organizations, including multinational development banks, civil society, academia, and youth group. I'm really encouraging you to join this coalition for a bigger impact and improvement of the life of our youth, among others. I would like to challenge all of you to join this Partner to Connect and pledge for several internet for our children. It would be by pledging to have your national strategies done and implementing by a certain period, by making sure educational materials is available in local language, by fostering an environment where schools, university include courses on online security, etc. I would also like to recognize the work so far achieved by Generation Connect African Youth Group. It's providing a unique participative process for youth to contribute to the work of ITU and African Technological Union is in the continent. It's offers African youth a virtual platform to discuss opportunities and challenge related to digital technologies, to share with ITU and ITU membership the interest, concern, and perspective on digital transformation. I've strongly recommended to the group to share the experience and participate to Safer Internet Day Youth Conference on the 12th February, and cannot wait to see what they come up in terms of input to the soon to come WTDC. Ladies and gentlemen, there are many challenges ahead. The digital divide, inequitable access to quality infrastructure, devices, and platform is an ongoing concern and requires dedicated investment and creative solutions. Children in this condition are coming online in greater and greater numbers, but many do not benefit from appropriate form of guidance from parents, teachers, and other significant adults. This continues to place children at risk online. This is why ITU UNICEF GIGA project, while connecting the schools, is making sure that this youth online protection is addressed. I think that we agree that protecting children online must continue to be a priority, to be careful balance between the effort to promote opportunities for children online. In doing so, we can assure that their right to safety while also creating the condition under which they can participate in and benefit from the digital world. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to acknowledge the dynamism of and thank Channel 9 Africa, which is putting the resources to get us celebrate this Suffered Day this year in our region. According to the last Regional Development Forum organized by ITU and ITU, in 2020, cybersecurity, including child line protection, was identified as key priority in the continent. ITU continuously strives to assist its member states and encourage a multi-stakeholder approach to address the global challenge, which requires a global approach. Many efforts to improve child line protection are already underway, both at national level. We need them to converge like the networks. The Regional Office of Africa team is working to accompany children and youth online protection in the region and remains available for you all. Thank you for your kind attention. Over to you, moderator. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Serge. Indeed, that was really good of you in highlighting all the essentials to also acknowledge the good work that our initiators and partner institutions are doing to make sure that the internet is indeed a safe place, not only for our children, but also for we, the adults. Thank you once again for that insightful keynote delivery. We move on, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and it is time to have a panel discussion. And this panel discussion will be looking at education and research and how education and research could be used in promoting a better internet experience, and specifically the roles that education and research play in achieving this particular endeavor. And to help us do this, we have no other person but our own Awo to moderate the session. And so I will invite Awo to take over and introduce the panel members for this particular segment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam. I'm back again to you. The focus of this particular session, I would speak to it in a bit. But then for this panel, we have three key experts in their various fields. I'm going to introduce them not in any particular order, just with a brief bio, and then we'll take it out from there. So the first on my list is Dr. Michael Bwachi-Adom. He's a Director General and a Senior Fellow at the Institute of Educational Planning and Administration under the auspices of UNESCO, University of Cape Coast, Ghana for that matter. And he's done an extensive work in research in literacy. So we'll be hearing him on how to improve pedagogy as far as teaching and learning of ICT and behavioral patterns are concerned, and how to even incorporate our cultural values in getting those achieved. My second person is Dr. Evelyn Kisi. She's an African tri-citizen. That's what she calls herself. And she's been involved in a number of interdisciplinary research with a focus on the African continent. So, I mean, the Black, I don't like to say Black critical, but then Black people. And her expertise also borders around inclusion and disability for that matter. So Dr. Kisi would also bring to the fore the learning or sharing from that side of education and research to see how we can take into consideration the needs of persons with disability, the needs of women and girls, as far as their access and skills are concerned. My third panelist is Dr. Hizron Zakaria Onditi. Is a lecturer at the University College of Education, Tanzania. Dr. Onditi happened to be doing a number of researches, including one he did on cyberbullying in Tanzania, and a couple of others which are on socio-ecological and behavioral patterns of children and young people. So Dr. Onditi comes on board with that knowledge. So we want to see how we can situate education and research into online safety. And what do we mean by that? We want to see how we can inform our designs of solution or tools to take into consideration language needs, skills needs, maturation level, age, and what have you, to help us in making the internet better in Africa. So having been working in the area of education development, Dr. Boachi Yadom, I want to hear your preliminary comments on that. What do you think? Are we doing well enough when it comes to curriculum design as far as skills and behavioral designs or influences are concerned? Do you think our ICT lessons are achieving what we want them to achieve when we look at creating a better internet?
All right, thank you very much, Awo. And I would like to wish all of us a very happy and peaceful, safer internet day. And again, I'm excited about this opportunity to share experiences and to learn together. So let me begin with a 1-minute story. So my son, now in the medical school second year at the University of Cape Coast, when he was at the junior high school, his first year at the junior high school, he was given an ICT homework. And when he came home, the homework was for him to write, explain how to save a Word document. So that was the assignment, explain how to save a Word document. So he came to me and said that when you are saving Word document in your office, how do you do it? And I said, I just save it. And he said, so why are they not taking me to the computer lab? So I just save it instead of writing and describing. And yes, and I think that tells a story as to where we are. But researchers will tell us, we will say that the status quo, our current situation, the gaps must be driven by data. So I'll probably leave that data-driven aspect for my other colleague whose research area might be in the area of ICT. But let me say that as an educationist with special research interest in educational leadership, issues of innovative pedagogy, issues of student development, and issues of supporting underrepresented student populations across all levels in educational institutions, I believe that there is more that can be done. And I say this from two major angles. And let me situate this in our culture. And I'll mention two of our Adinkra symbols, and I'll try to explain why I want to situate this, not in any Western model, but I want to situate my discussion in our traditional cultural Adinkra symbols. And I'll use two of them. There is one that says, he who learns gets to know. one acquires knowledge through learning. That is what this Adinkra symbol in the Ghanaian culture, in many African cultures, seem to depict. When we don't know and we learn, we get to know. So if we want to know, what do? We must learn. And when we learn, we'll get to know. Then the second one is Ofru Diapano Pion. He who climbs a good tree deserves a push, literal meaning. So any person, anybody who is embarking on a productive venture deserves support. So the second Adinkra symbol is also a sign of support, the fact that we must support each other. So my point is, even within our culture and within our context, as Africans and as Ghanaians, we have a lot of sayings and proverbs and other aspects of our culture that talk about support, why we need to support each other. So in discussing Safer Internet Day, supporting each other is important. Who is at what level? How can we share? How can we use advocacy? How can we use our educational experiences? How can we use our other expertise to support each other so we all get to where we are supposed to be? If it has to be advocacy, let's support each other and do it. If it has to be research, let's support each other and do it. If it has to be education, let's support each other and do it. If when it comes to supporting our students, both in pre-tertiary institutions and tertiary institutions, to understand what we mean by Safer Internet Day, or what we mean by using internet responsibly and productively. What does it mean? If some countries are ahead of other countries, if some professionals are ahead of others, let us come together and support each other so that we can all achieve this together. So to end my introductory remarks, I will say that we have a lot of gaps. If you look at our educational pathways from primary school to junior high school to senior high school to the university, how flexible are these pathways? So in Ghana, for instance, at the senior high school level, if you have a grade of D7, which is a pass in mathematics, English, or integrated science, you can never go to any of our tertiary institutions. How flexible is this policy? Is it possible, for instance, for some students, to use internet and online and virtual platforms to get better in these areas where they are enrolled in the university? So there are a lot of things that we can do if we all work together and pool our resources together and support each other. So I think I will end my introductory remarks here, and I'll pick it up when we continue.
All right, thank you so much. But then whilst you're waiting, you'll be giving us some key indicators for flexible pathways in education when we come for the next round of questioning. All right, Dr. Akisi, are you on? Okay. In order not to bend the time, I will move on to Dr. Hezron Onditi. What are your thoughts? Can you hear me? Oh, yes, I can hear you.
Oh, perfect. So I think your question, or the question you asked us to open with, it's a very broad and what's the word? For the lack of a better word, very big question. It's a grand question. But first of all, I'd like to also say thank you for the invitation to this and for the opportunity. Unfortunately, as you can see, I'm on the road running errands currently. So that's why I have my mask on. And might also, since we're talking about digital citizenship, and everything, I might also be cutting in and out. So if I do, please forgive me. I think internet access, I have to put the preamble before we start so that everyone understand my situation currently, and also be able to contextualize that if I, as a so-called able-bodied, exactly, if I, as a so-called able-bodied person, is going through such internet connectivity issue, how much more a person with disability that is from the rural area. So one of my research or my research in general looks more on inclusivity and equity and how we can better support children with disabilities, especially in this time of COVID, where majority of our schools are going online or have gone online or are still online. We see that a lot of research are coming out that children with disabilities, families with children with disabilities, living particularly within the rural areas, are left out when it comes to education. Now, when we talk about children, right, we talk about it from JK and up who are in school. Now, for me, my children are online. My kids are a bit older. So when it comes to online education, they're able to access, and obviously living in another first world country or a place where it's not as rural, they have access to connectivity. So if we look at it from that end, what happens to a child or a family who live in a place where they don't have access to internet connectivity or can't really afford to purchase data to be on the internet? And to even put that on the side, let's look at the adaptation that is required for some of our children to even, for children with disability to come online. We're talking about access to dictation application, to be able to turn the words, the languages into voice, right? We're talking about, those different systems to have access to online learning, which unfortunately is not there. So what policies can we say govern this inclusivity within the African continent? Well, as we all know, or as we all can, or as I can argue, Africa or African countries, we are very good with writing amazing policies. Our languages are always on point. But also when you go deeper and read into this policy, we find that a lot of the people or a lot of the folks who put together these policies are more of international researchers or consultants who do not contextualize what is happening on ground within the policies, within and so the languages sometimes are off. And then the legalities of if a school or if a state do not provide a space for a child with disability to have access to education, what are the implications?
Okay, I guess we've lost her. She's already hinted us about it. So
I think I'm back. Am I back?
All right, the next time you go off again, you wait until it's your next round of questioning. You're back.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So it's like we are asking, what are the implications of doing such policy? And these are things that we need to ask ourselves. And when we're writing or putting together this policy, do we have disability experts sitting on the table? Do we have folks with disabilities themselves who are living with lived experiences sitting on the table to do such work? Or are we placing them in a hierarchy where we are doing the work for them? And one thing about people with disabilities is like nothing without us for us. So if we are doing something, or if we are working around creating an inclusive environment, inclusive policy on behalf of children with disabilities, on behalf of persons with disabilities, we have to make sure that these folks, these specialized folks are also sitting around the table and be able to support, including legalities, the law, the state's law, and contextualize. For me, it's the most important thing when we're talking about disability is contextualizing the child or the person's lived experiences. What are they living with at the current state? Do we need to send them? I remember there was a paper I was reading where a non-for-profit sent wheelchair from outside, from the first world down to the development. And the road for these children to use this wheelchair is impossible. So the wheelchair was left in the airport. So these are the things that we need to start putting together, even outside of digital space, even within this, the physical space. What are we doing to make sure that they are not left behind? So I'll end here for now, and hopefully I stay connected. And as I said earlier, this is an experience that we, and me as an able-bodied person, I'm having this connectivity issue. So how much more our child or our persons with disability? Thank you.
Right, thank you. No comments. Dr. Hezron Onditi, over to you. Do you think our educational approaches are actually building or helping young people build the behavior that they need to be online?
Thank you, Awo, and I'd like to thank the organizer for the invitation, and happy Internet Day to you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'd like to thank my colleague for opening it up, and I really like the ideas that brought in with regard to inclusion, issues to do with the equity. On my side, I do understand that in African context, we do know that our children are getting into the internet, as the presenters have presented. And what I can say is that in our education system, we are still having education system which is developed by the adults. Adults are the ones who make curriculum. They're the ones who decide what they want children to learn. And our children are rarely engaged in the curriculum development. And given the issue of generation gap when it comes to technology, I tell you, the research I do when I ask children stories as parents, we have the generation of children who are the digital experts, and parents are children when it comes to technology in African context. So with technology, children are the adults and adults are the children. So children know a lot of stuff. I tell you, when I go back home, maybe if my device gets into trouble, my little children are the ones who troubleshoot it. They know it more than I know it. So that tells us children are the expert. But when you look at our curriculums in most countries, in African countries, children are not allowed even to access some of the common devices. For example, talk about the use of mobile phones. In many schools, these devices are not allowed in school. Children are not allowed to use them. And in some context, when a child is caught with a device like a mobile phone, they are collected and they hammer this technology. They just use hammers to destroy this technology. So with this kind of attitude, that means in some context, our educational system are not helping children to use technology. They take technology as as luxurious, and children are not yet there. It is for adults, they should not use it. So you find our curriculum are not embedding technology. But sometimes we, during the COVID era, as we have seen here, that most of the learning shifted to online world. So I think that's where now our education system were caught, because you are not allowing them to use this technology, but with COVID, you now send them stuff to do in the digital world. So I think they are kind of mixed curriculum. They are kind of mixed understanding in our education system, which do not really embrace, maybe allow children to use this technology, tending to help them or to lead them into inappropriate behavior. That's the argument which is brought forth, that this technology will lead children to engage into early sexual activities or to get into deviant behaviors, communicating with people, maybe strangers online. So adults, including the education system, are of the fear side. We are only focusing at the risk which children may encounter without looking at the positive, the opportunities which technologies comes with. So that is left out. So we do not have well developed, maybe in other countries, but from my understanding and from the studies I'm going through, we still have a problem in our curriculums to embrace this technology, to allow children to embrace this technology. If a child is found using technology, this child is being labeled, children are being punished for using this technology. So I think we still have a long way to go. We have to accept that this is their generation. This is their generation. We need to allow them to use this technology under guidance. They need to be guided on how to use them responsibly. That is what we need to focus on. And we can't ban them from using this technology. I think that's what I can say.
All right. Thank you. We can't ban them, but then I want you to be thinking about this question when we come to the second round. Do you, in your research, did you come across the fact that, yes, children are experts, we agree, but then do you think that they are well equipped to act responsibly when it comes to the devices, or you think Wachi Adam, yes, so I left with you how we can make the pathways flexible. What are some of those indicators we could take up? Maybe we have industry partners who are connected. What can they do at the industry level? And we have policymakers. Dr. Kisi highlighted some of the policy gaps and the challenges that we encounter in Africa. And maybe there are other thoughts you feel we might bring to bear on making the pathway flexible and accessible to every child. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
All right, thank you very much once again. So yes, I ended with how flexible the pathways are. Now, let me give some examples in higher education. I'll give some examples in pre-tertiary education, and I will draw our conclusions. So one begins the journey to higher education as a freshman, first year, and you realize that prior to getting to the university, academic advising is not very strong and effective in the secondary schools and the senior high schools. So many of our students make choices based on what friends are saying and based on what parents are saying and based on what they have heard. And then they get into some academic programs within the universities. Now, in the middle of the semester, their very first semester, they realize that they probably are at the wrong place and may want to switch to a different program. Currently, in many of our public universities, it is very difficult, almost impossible to switch from one academic program to the other unless you reapply and begin the first year. So if you get into a biochemistry program and you realize that it is not really what you wanted to do and you want to switch to, let's say, biological sciences or any other program, it is not possible. They will ask you to wait, buy a new form the following year and enter. Now, how flexible is that? Why can't one go to the academic affairs unit, complete some form, and then switch? For all you know, the two programs, the one that the person is in, the one that the person wants to switch to, are taking common core courses within the first semester. So why is that difficult and almost impossible? I got into a program at KNUST my freshman year, architecture, because my dad wanted me to. And I didn't like the studio environment. I didn't like the T-square. I didn't like drawing. So first month, I said, no, I have to do planning. And planning and architecture, KNUST, the same faculty. I moved from HODs to deans to pro-vice chancellor. And they said, you can't switch, young man. You have to wait and then re-enter. So the following year, I was upset with KNUST. I bought UCC form, and then I came to the University of Cape Town. What that meant was that my colleagues, my classmates were 1 year ahead of me. And as an undergrad, I was not able to manage that till I finished and started my master's. And I told myself, I'll run and finish the PhD and get back on track and be ahead of all my classmates. The point I'm making is that it has been difficult 15 years ago, 20 years ago, it is still difficult. And that is just higher education. When we come to the primary schools and the senior high schools, of course, students have different levels of development, and some developmentally are ahead than others, and we know that. Some develop competencies earlier than others. Some are able to manage their emotions earlier than others. Some are able to establish their identity earlier than others. But we put all of them in one box. And we expect all of them to use 2 days to understand a particular concept in mathematics. Some will understand it in 5 minutes, and the remaining 1 day and how many hours is a waste of time for him or her. That person will fidget in the classroom, wouldn't pay attention, and that child will be tagged as stubborn and irrespectful because he doesn't pay attention in class. Meanwhile, he's done and wants to move forward. Do we have systems where we can engage them, probably outside the classroom? Do we even know how to even identify these differences? Does our teacher training prepare our teachers to be able to know these differences and understand these differences? So we have these challenges. That notwithstanding, I believe that the opportunities that internet offer will be able to help us work around some of these things. Now we are talking about integrating 21st century skills into our curriculum. It's a big discussion at the University of Cape Coast, and we are looking at our curriculum to integrate all these 21st century skills and competencies. But when you come to the actual engagement with our students, do we have the environment? Do we have the enabling environment to even be able to properly incorporate 21st century skills into our curriculum? I do global classroom, and I have colleagues outside Ghana in other universities in Africa and outside Africa, where we put our course outline together and engage our students together on the same platform through Global Classroom Initiative. And we have students from different parts of the world working on projects together, managing 4, 5, 6, 7 hour time differences. That is important. And if you're able to manage these time differences and are able to work together, what skills and competencies are they developing? Great ones. But the point is, do we have on-campus internet connectivity to even support this? If you want to do this, you sometimes have to spend your own money, buy internet for yourself and your students to be able to get them on some of these global classrooms. To what extent are we using resources within our communities to support student development? We keep the students in the classroom without taking them out. From the policy point of view, if you look at the curriculum and the class schedule timetable from morning till afternoon, late afternoon till they close, it is so rigid that an innovative teacher who wants to explore opportunities within the community has no space, because the timetable is rigid from mathematics to English to social studies to integrated science. Break for 30 minutes, you come back. It's teach most of the time without supporting the students to even learn, to learn how to learn. Sometimes we're only interested in teaching. Once we teach, sometimes we assume that learning has taken place. And how do we even assess what our students have learned? We are still using what is geography and what is social studies, testing knowledge. We hardly test understanding, we hardly test application. And some studies have shown that our students across all levels do not answer questions that test the application and test the understanding of concepts. But when you have questions that simply test their knowledge of what you have given them, they reproduce what you have given them back to you. And that is what they want. But that is not what would take Africa to where you want to be. As teachers, as educators, we must begin to move away from assessing our students purely based on knowledge. And let us work with scenarios and case studies, let them work together in group. Students do better in groups than when they are alone. But you see, these innovative pedagogies need time to prepare. The teacher must be committed. The teacher needs the resources. The teacher needs the time to prepare. You just can't go to the classroom if you want to be using innovative pedagogy. You have to prepare. So these things are not available, but these things, we can make them available through responsible use of internet. Many of our students are on the internet not to learn. They are on the internet to have fun and laugh, and that is it. How do we teach the kids and our students how to use internet responsibly when we, the adults, are not even using it responsibly? I always tell my colleagues that the students and the kids are mirroring our irresponsible use of social media and the internet, and they are watching us. So advocacy is important, intentional education is important, targeted at specific group of students is important, and educating ourselves as teachers and educators and researchers is important. We must be role models in these areas. We must coach our students and the kids to use this responsibly, and we must support them to be able to do this. So for me, the gaps are real. However, if we plan well and we are intentional in our approach, I believe we can take advantage of the opportunities that the internet offers.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Wachiyadom, for that submission. Dr. Kisi, are you on? Okay, so I will take from Dr. Hijron on DT. We have, I've been reminded that we have just 4 minutes left for our session. So,
okay.
Yes, yeah.
So, yeah, okay.
So,
also...
if you have a question, kindly feel free to post it in the chat, and then we will pass it on to who is to take it from there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You raised a question whether children are able to use these technologies responsibly, given that they are appearing to be the digital citizens and experts. So what research is telling us is that most cases you find that children are very creative, they're inquisitive, they have urge to learn, and when they get opportunity, they can learn a lot of stuff. And given that most of the parents, I know there is also the generation gap among parents, you find that there are those parents who are digitally savvy, those one can help the children on how to navigate the digital world. But you find that maybe you go to rural areas, most of the studies I'm doing, last year I did a study in the rural area, and I was surprised to start seeing that issues of cyberbullying and online sexual abuse is happening in rural areas. So that was a kind of a surprise finding. We expected that.
Yeah. So that is why I was asking that if that is the situation, do you think what we are delivering in the classroom is actually helping young people make the informed decisions should they have a tool in their hands?
That's what I'm saying, that what we have in our education system and what we are delivering in the classroom system has very, very little when it comes to helping and supporting children in the use of this technology. And as I say earlier, in some education systems, African context, they still do not appreciate the use of technology among children. And in fact, you go to rural areas, you find there is less accessibility to these devices. Teachers are teaching ICT, theoretical, drawing a computer on the blackboard. So what do you expect for children to get out of that? So I think we are still having a long way to go when it comes to the issue of accessibility to this technology. Are they having access to it? Teachers themselves, do they have access to this technology? Do they have knowledge, awareness, enough knowledge about this technology? And are they also positive when it comes to technology use among children? So I think there is still a gap in rural state when it comes to accessibility, the use of this technology. And what must we say? Self and time to change curriculum and integrating technology issues in curriculum, issues to do with the use of knowledge. I think that this has been done. We need to work with our curriculum, integrate knowledge, so that we
Okay. Okay, we lost you at the tail end of your submission though, but it's fine. Mr. Baimoro, can you text, can you chat, or you'd like to speak up? You have just a minute to do that, please. Over to you.
Mine just a remark from what my colleague has just said, and I think schools are not doing enough to ensure children online safety, and I think that emanates from the fact that even the teachers themselves do not have adequate skills in terms of addressing issues of internet safety. It is just a few days I was talking to one of my lecturers at the university, and on issues of child protection, and most of the training colleges focus on content, on pedagogy, but not issues of child protection. So I think it does present an opportunity for teacher training colleges or institutions to consider issues of child protection and with regard to online safety, so that teachers are equipped with skills and knowledge in order to transfer the same or to transmit the same to their learners. Thank you.
All right, Asante Sana. So do I still have 30 seconds? Sam? Oh, my time is up.
It's up, but you can do 30 seconds. That's fine.
No, I don't want to break the protocol. Let me leave it. So I would like to thank Dr. Bachi Adam so much. We'll be coming back to you for some other tips on how to improve even our local level engagement, taking into consideration the teaching profession. And then Dr. Onditi, will still be getting back to you. Thank you so much for your time and your insight. Dr. Evelyn Kisi, I don't know if you are still connected, but I want to thank you too for connecting with us halfway and demonstrating to us the issues faced by persons with disability when it comes to inclusion in the digital space. Thank you. Over to you, Sam.
Thank you so much, Awo. I think there was a question in the chat box.
Okay.
Yes, if you could take that quickly before we...
Okay. Okay, so this is to all the panelists. I think that, thank you for this. Please, I want to ask the panelists if they don't think that our current system, though preaching ICT integration, are promoting ICT use instead of ICT integration. Maybe we don't have a lot of time to respond to this, but then I know they can respond in the chat. So Dr. Bachi Adam, Dr. Onditi, and Dr. Kisi, over to you in the chat.
Thank you so much, Awo, once again. Thank you. So now we are moving on. For the next panel discussion, we'll be looking at the role that parents and teachers are playing. Parents in our homes and teachers at the front line in our schools for better internet use. And how is this going, and what sort of support do these important stakeholders need in order to do this important job effectively? And we were supposed to have had Kalekuda. Yes?
You make me understand Nigerian NCC would do the presentation before this one.
Oh, okay.
Correct.
We can think that's true. So sorry, before we go to the next panel discussion, we have a 3 to 5 minutes presentation from one of our supporters for today's forum. And I would like at this juncture to call on the rep of the Nigerian Communications Commission to do their sharing. So if we have the rep for NCC, please, it's time. You have 3 to 5 minutes, please, and pretty to keep to the time.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak. So I actually have a brief slides, and I guess the slides will be able to keep to the time. I don't know if my colleague can be given hosting rights to share, or if she should share it with you to to present? So I can just go through it real quick.
Okay, so she should share with me, and I will do that quickly.
Okay.
I'll do you the honors. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So it won't take too much time. We have two to 3 minutes, and we'll definitely keep to that. So we know that ITU, released the ITU guidelines in 2020. So we were part of the launch as a commission. And after that launch, we had the opportunity to call for like a program with the children, which we called Virtual Hangout with Children. So we wanted to get the children's input to know what, to help them understand what the guidelines are supposed to do and what their input is to the document. So it was at that virtual hangout, which held, I think that was October, November 2020. We now decided as a team and with the children that we're going to change the name from Sango to Online with Agent COP. Reason being, Sango in Nigeria, in Yoruba language, stands for God of Thunder and Lightning. So most people will misunderstand that name. So we changed the name to Agent COP. So we now moved forward from there to localize the documents. So now we have the 3 documents, that's the Online with Agent COP, then the activity book, and also the teacher's guide. We've uploaded those 3 documents onto our website. We also shared those documents with our partners and those we collaborate with to also share, to disseminate this information, because not everybody comes to our website. So we believe that there's been quite a wide share, hopefully. So currently, we're in the process of trying to localize, or rather translate the localized documents into Pidgin, Hausa, Yoruba, and Igbo. So the process is currently ongoing. We wanted to have just one particular book that will contain the 4 languages in it, so that when we are going on awareness visits, we can bring out these books, and in one book, a child who speaks Pidgin can also see the same thing, what it means in Hausa, Yoruba, and Igbo. And if a child speaks Hausa, he can see what it means in Pidgin, Yoruba, Igbo, just to encourage the children to also take up other languages as they're learning about them online, being safe online. Then some other things we've done, as a country and as a commission. The commission hosted an annual event called the National Cybersecurity Conference, Annual Cybersecurity Conference. Last year's theme was on building trust in digital economy, and it was done in collaboration with the Office of National Security Advisor, where they wanted to sensitize their stakeholders on the implementation of the National Cybersecurity Policy and Strategy. There was a 2-day conference. There were a lot of people who attended, and so the output from that conference is supposed to be input into organizations on ways they need to implement to increase security, and of course, which now trickles down to child online protection for our children. Then we also have the Cybercrime Act, which was enacted, I think, 2015. It's currently been, let's say, I don't say upgraded. It's currently been reduced because 2015 is quite a while back. A lot has happened since then. So right now, the Office of National Security Advisor has called for stakeholders to provide inputs to this document, and we're hoping that either later this year or by next year, we'll have an updated Cybercrimes Act. Then in 2014, I think that was under the last administration that was president then, there was a draft document called Nigerian Child Online Protection Policy. However, that document was never gazetted. So we as a commission and with other stakeholders reviewed that draft, and we're now looking at how we can incorporate the ideas from 2014, what we're trying to achieve, into a new document, which we hope will be used by all stakeholders that are connected to let's say, child online protection. It's going to be teamwork. It's not just going to be us as a commission doing that. So when the process starts, we're going to call for stakeholder meetings and then present a new draft to them, and then all stakeholders are supposed to review, agree, and then we'll move forward from there. We also have a document on our website called Internet Code of Practice, and the main reason we had, I think it was published in I think 2019, and it has sections that have to do with incorporating child online protection policies into people's organizations' terms of service, It has parental control measures, so it's more like a guide for those who have access to the documents, especially those who are licensees, so that they know that these are some of the things they need to put in place. So we're also part of, Africa Safer Internet Day celebrations last year, where we visited some schools in Abuja and Lagos to sensitize them about the need to stay safe online. We collaborated with a couple of, let's say, not sponsors, partners. Yeah, we collaborated with some of them, and we were able to cover just 2 states. Then for girls in ICT, we were able to cover more states. We had in like 6 different states, we had like an awareness trying to encourage girls to take up ICT and also bring in the part of child online safety. Now, for the one that we did for girls in ICT, even though the event holds 22nd of April, we decided to take opportunity of the 10 moments, which ITU was celebrating last year, being the 10th anniversary of girls in ICT. So they had 10 moments which they had used for their stakeholders and their partners to use to create more awareness. And so we decided to leverage on the one on online safety, which was moment 5. And so we went to schools as well that were just for girls only, talking to them about being safe online and also encourage them to take up STEM subjects. So I think that's about what we have done so far. Of course, every organization and every stakeholder country always has challenges. So we know that one of the challenges that we need to come up quickly with the documents that we're going to use as a national policy that all stakeholders will agree to and implement. And so that is something that we're going to work on. There are also a couple of events we attended. Because of time, I'm not going to go through all of them. So we take part in most of these IT events. We take part in global events as well. There's the Nigerian Internet Governance Forum, which is local, then the West African, and global. And then all recommendations made at those events, we try to make sure we get in touch with the right stakeholders for implementation of that. Okay, we also had sensitization campaigns. Sorry, I'm actually using my phone, so I can't see very clearly. But I know that we did, during the National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, we had a particular week dedicated to child online protection. So we shared videos of the children, first of all, who had taken part of our program during the Africa Safer Internet Day, during the fireside chat, and also the girls in ICT. So we recorded them, and also we now posted those videos up onto our Instagram handles and on the website. And then we have engagements with different local and international bodies. And so that is what because of time, I'm not going to go through the slides one by one. But yeah, so this particular slide speaks to the child complaint handles. In Nigeria, if you have any complaint as a consumer, you're expected to call 622 and it will, you're able to give your complaints. So now we're working with that department, and that department is called Consumer Affairs Bureau, where we want to work with them to ensure that they're able to incorporate child online complaints. So we're going to have to give them the right capacity building opportunities so that those that take the calls know that, okay, this is what you need to answer. And if you can't, take it up, you escalate to so and so bodies. We're working on that with them this year. And they will also have an email, cop@ncc.gov.ng, where children or anyone who has any complaints can send an email, and then they'll get responses. And then we're also partnering with CCRA to help us with challenges. When a child complains, what do they need to do? They are the foundation that helps. So in all, we are open to working with more stakeholders, because the work, honestly, concerning child online protection is a lot. So we're still working with more stakeholders this year to even try and achieve more. We have achieved just a little, we're just scratched the surface, and we believe there's so much more we need to do, and we're going to do that. I thought that's right. Okay, so can we go back to slides? Sorry, our 1 minute. I wanted to just show pictures of the localized documents. I think on slide 6, or this slide 5. Yes, okay, this slide 6, yes. So these are the localized pages from the documents, which is online with Sango, but these are our own version. We decided to make it local. And so you have the names localized, not the ITU names. We localize it to Toby, Doshima. We try to use local names that people can connect with. And then the next page has to do with the Pi Wazobia. That's the one for Pidgin, Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbo. The one that we want to incorporate 4 languages into one book. The next slide after this, please. Yes. So this is supposed to be the cover page of the book that we want to have 4 languages in one. So to start off with Pidgin, then to have Yoruba, to have Hausa, and then Igbo. So if a child picks up this book, they can now open to whichever. It's going to be color coded. So the first color, they know this is for Pidgin, the second for Yoruba, just to try and encourage them to also learn more languages and have more, and just make it fun for them, really. And that's about it. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Really do appreciate it. And we're looking forward to future engagements with Child Online Africa and other stakeholders. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, from the Nigerian Communications Commission. Ladies and gentlemen, we are moving on to our next panel discussion for today's forum. And this time we are looking at the role that parents and teachers as important stakeholders are playing at the front line. Parents at home and teachers in our schools. Specifically, what are they doing and what forms of support do they need? At this juncture, to help us moderate this session, I have the honor once again to invite Awo Aidam Amenya to take over. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you, Sam. So when it comes to parents and educators, discretionary powers are allowed. At this juncture, may I invite Madam Mutopo from Zimbabwe. If you are on, kindly turn on your microphone and let me know you are on. Mr. Abai Maro, parent from Kenya. Madam Rose Nyauto, a headmistress from Ghana. And Mr. Adam Abubakar, Nigeria. Do we have a full complement of our panelists?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to turn on your camera, or you're okay without the camera? You like to be off, right? Okay. Good to see you, madam. Mr. Moro, okay.
Good to see you too.
Yes. Do we have Mr. Adams? Nigeria, and Madam Wen from Zimbabwe. Okay, so we will start off with I can see Moro. Madam, if you would like to turn off your camera, you are at liberty to do that. It looks like nobody wants to turn it on, so you can also comply with them and just keep it that way. So we're going to look at this.
That's okay.
Right. We see you as frontliners when it comes to the conversation of safety and conversation of when it comes to the supervision of children and young people when they are used, as far as their use of the internet is concerned. So both at home, sometimes the teachers complement the role of parents. If there's an illiterate parent, of course, it's the teacher who will step in, do the backstopping role to equip the child with the necessary skills. And at church and the mosque and what have you. How is it going for you? And do you think you need support in any way or form? Who would like to take the floor first?
Yeah, thank you very much, Awo. This is Bai Maro from Kenya, and I would like to start.
Right, we are all ears.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it's a wonderful topic, and particularly for us who are parents, I think it has come at the right time, because it's really a challenge, particularly for teenagers and even preschoolers, because right away access to technology has become very easy. I know in the previous presentation it was mentioned that there is a divide between people who have access and those who do not have access in the rural areas, but I think it's with regard to issues of internet, but in terms of mobile phone connectivity, I think here in Kenya, it covers really a wide range, both in the urban and in the rural areas. So when it comes to issues of control, I have a preschooler at home, will be joining grade 1, I think in March this year. And most of the time, he likes using the phone. He comes home and requests that we want to use the phone. So many games and all that. But then what we usually do, me and the mother, is that we actually try to see or find out which game does he want to play. So we look at the game and we look at the merits of what is going to benefit from the game. And if it's a game that portrays some violent aspects, then we try to put control and even talk to the child and tell him that this is not good for you at your age. So we'll not encourage you to play this game on the phone. And then we also present scenarios, particularly on issues of kidnapping, which has been quite rampant currently in our country. So we try to manage by talking to him and also advising on what he needs to do. But again, the challenge which I would say, and maybe perhaps we may need support, is the need for collaboration between parents and teachers, because most of the time the child plays with other children. And here at home, me as a parent, I'm trying to manage and also guide my child. But the other children that my child plays with perhaps do not have the same experiences, and they are the ones who sometimes influence. There is an aspect of peer pressure. Then he comes home and asks, I want to play this game. So you look at the game, it's not the best for a child of 6 years. But then you find his peers out there already have access to that game at home. So it means the parents are giving access to that particular child to content that is not appropriate. So what we basically do is that we have been trying to talk to the teachers, and I think an opportunity lies ahead in terms of supporting teachers to understand maybe or to consider issues of internet safety as a form of life skill to these children, because in as much as I try to do the same at home, might not be the same to other parents. But if teachers are addressing this issue at school with all the children, then I think it really presents an opportunity for online safety for our children. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on that. Madam Rose.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. As we all know, children in this modern day are surrounded by technology, and the internet is available everywhere, as said by our earlier panelists. And as frontliners, I'll speak as a parent and then again as a teacher and an administrator. There is a way we have to control the kids, because we cannot even curtail their freedom when it comes to the use of the internet. So we have to focus on the positive more than the negative, because the positive is the advantages in the use of the internet is outweigh the disadvantages in a way. And as a parent, how I manage to keep it safe. Sometimes I even have to come consult you on how to control the use of the internet in my house. And so far, so good. It has been helpful because you've exposed my kids to the how to be safe on the internet. The first thing I use is I allow them to use the gadget anyway, but I monitor them. So even though we are not together, If my child is online on any of the social media that they have hooked onto, I see what they are doing from a distance. Sometimes if it's a personal chat, I get to read those personal chats on my gadget while they are also on their gadgets. And if I see them going wayward or where they are not supposed to be or whoever they are chatting with, I quickly call them and then interact with them. Another thing is, I'm also friends with some of their online friends, also a way of monitoring their private chat. Then educating them on not sharing their information, personal information to strangers. And the most important one is reporting cyberbullying, predators, and then inappropriate conduct online. If they come across somebody online that they feel is not safe, they have to report. And then I also, there's one thing I do is, they are not to meet strangers, people they don't know. And if they happen to get into contact with that person personally, they cannot do that without any permission from me as a parent. And there are times that even though I monitor from a distance, I still take the device, if the laptop, the phone, to see the sites that they have visited or even some of the images on their phone. As a teacher or as an administrator, you know, in Ghana, we have the code of discipline, and one of them is mobile phones are not allowed in schools. The students are used to the use of mobile phones at home, and when they come to school, we don't allow them to use it. And some manage to bring the phones. If you take the phones from them, they get new ones. What I would like the policymakers to help us with this, to come out, because this is a code of conduct that you cannot use phone in school. And this is the same, we have that policy that ICT, the use of ICT, is a tool that we are using. And the device can also not be used in schools. If they can withdraw that document and allow students to use phones so that we can monitor the use of phone, it will help us a long way. And it will also be safer for us as institutions, because it's a headache for most teachers and heads of institutions, the use of mobile phones in our schools, especially the senior high schools. One, maybe you hear on air that you cannot use phones. For instance, one teacher, one laptop. Teachers have been given laptops to be used in their lessons. Students can also be allowed to bring laptops or even phones. Those who can afford, they can bring it and then use it. It will make lesson very easy for us. So this is a humble appeal. And one appeal is the Children Online Protection Act must be adhered to, so that the operators of the website they can limit, children can be limited to websites, so that using their age. So you know that at this age, you cannot access this website. That one too can go a long way to help us. Thank you.
All right, thank you. This is the reason why this particular panel is coming before the industry panel, because I know there will be some solutions for you when it comes to supervision, when it comes to the policy. Maybe the school may have to come up with something that will help, but then industry players will be best placed to advise on what to do when it comes to that. Mr. Adam Abubakar, I can see you. Are you with us, or you
Yes.
are okay?
No.
All right, over to you.
Thank you. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
All of them. Good afternoon and good morning.
It's a pleasure. Good morning. It's a pleasure for me being in this conversation. And I'm very happy because this is my first time of this type of communication. And it's of importance for me to give out my knowledge on this great day. Firstly, I would like to start mine with at least what sociology said about family as the smallest unit of society. As well, family is the first institution of a child. Likewise, school and teachers help in inculcating knowledge into students. The role of parents and teachers in safe use of internet. To me, it is of importance as a teacher and administrator in school. It is of importance for teachers to be supervising their students in school, in the class, as well as in the environment. And also in my school where I'm working, use of cell phone is prohibited because most of the students use cell phones, internet, for examination malpractice, one of the disadvantages of using internet in school. As well as there are other means that corrupt students, that is the disadvantages of using of internet by children, be it at home or be it in school. The pornographical aspect, whereby the students will be viewing out other things that are not supposed to be seen by them. As well as, on that note, we usually monitor our students while coming into the school by checking on them. If any of them has any of that gadget on him, then we try and advise and even call their parents to tell them what is happening. Also, the importance of internet is very good for us teachers to give out to students because internet is very important. It makes learning to students very easily, as well as communication and research become very easily for them to look out for assignments as well as research topics. Then on this note, there are many advantages in which we encourage our students to use internet by our serious supervision. Like in my school, during the COVID-19, we try to introduce online lesson for students to see how far we are going to cope with our academic activities. Then on this note, as a father also, at home, my child usually use my cell phone, but I have to go in line with what he is doing to checkmate what he is doing for the betterness to have a very responsible and an important child in the society.
All right, internet. So in so doing, I'm not cutting you short, but I want you to make it direct at the issue. So in your quest to supervise or guide, did you think you were comfortable at it, or it was quite difficult for you? And I want you to also situate yourself in the shoes of an uneducated parent. Do you think it would have been easy or what? Because you are in the field, I want you to bring that to bear on this so that we can pick what to do with it.
Now, as in my school, it is not easy for us to dictate the problem of using internet in the school, but we use our own knowledge and we use our own strategies by engaging other teachers to assist in checkmating students. One, as an uneducated parent, for me to dictate all those problems of using internet at home, it will be very difficult. But the only thing I will do, I will have to look for someone close to me that is educated to assist me by visiting my children's cell phone to assist to know what they are doing.
Okay.
Yes.
So that goes to emphasize the initial comment about collaboration between parents and educators. So I'm coming back to you, Mr. Abaimaro and Madam Rose. A minute each for you. Madam Rose has highlighted the need for policy or guidelines to address the actual issue, not a blanket instruction which restricts use, but there should be guided use. Aside that, what else do you think is needed needed by you as a parent and in the other shoe as an educator to ensuring that you can sleep soundly and be sure that your child is equipped enough to engage online? So either you or Mr. Maro can take that. A minute each for you.
Okay, thank you, Awo. What we can do is just to continue to tell them the risk and disadvantages of the internet. We keep talking to them, because if we don't do that, if we go to sleep, we will not sleep soundly. And then ensure, because as you are asleep, the child may even be awake deep in the night, online, doing what's not supposed to be done. So we have to continue talking to them about the risk. And when we do that, I think it will be a safer space for all of us. And we can all sleep soundly, knowing that we have equipped our children enough to be able to access the internet. Thank you.
All right. Okay. I can see the biases because we are all educated. Nobody is uneducated. That's fine. Mr. Maro?
For me, I think just as my colleague has mentioned, I think it's important to continue the conversation with both parents and the children, because we are discussing issues that affect children. So I think their involvement is quite key to ensure that they have skills to understand and manage issues of internet, and also to have kind of a parent support group, because not all of us are at the same level, but having an opportunity as parents to discuss these issues, I think it will go a long way in ensuring that there is always safety when our children are online. And also urge, as mentioned earlier, for policymakers to enforce or to try to work with the institutions of learning to ensure that teachers have skills that will help manage issues of children online safety. Just like we have lessons on road safety. So having internet safety life training will really help our children. So we'll be having it at home and also the same at school. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Abubakar.
Yes, I'm getting you.
Yes, so your last comment for a minute. You mentioned the fact that your parents who are illiterate would talk to people who know. Have you thought about walking to your service provider? Maybe you are on MTN and you walk to MTN office and ask for help. Have you done that before?
No.
Okay, but you know they have something like that.
I don't know.
Okay, all right, that's fine. You've answered my question. So any last comment from you?
Yes, my last comment is that awareness and workshops should be organized to the teachers as well as the students, even the parents too, on the importance of internet as well as the disadvantage of internet to their children and the society at large.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. So, all right then. Thank you so much to our panelists, Madam Rose, Mr. Maro, and Mr. Abubakar. Madam Wayne couldn't connect with us. So over to you, Sam. I know some of the issues you've raised will be addressed by the next panel. So just keep calm. If you have a question, you shoot it across, and then they'll be more than happy to respond to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Awo, and thank you to all the panelists for the very insightful discussions. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the final panel discussion for today's forum. And this panel discussion is looking at how we will tackle child online protection and resilience for building a better internet, looking specifically at what the industry's inclusive solution to consumers, especially children and young people, is achieving so far. And to help us do this panel discussion, dear ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to invite, I like the way she's smiling, to invite Ms. Teki Akwete, who is the Executive Director of Africa Digital Rights Hub. So, Ms. Akwete, you are welcome.
Thank you, Samuel, and good morning, good afternoon, maybe good evening if you're joining us from the part of the world where it's in the evening. It's a pleasure joining you here from Accra, and I'm very excited about this session. So I hope all our industry players are really ready to answer our questions. I will be engaging them on the topic that I've been given, which is tackling child online protection and resilience building for a better internet. And I will be joined in no particular order by Susan El Said, who is the Safety Policy Manager for Africa, Middle East, and Turkey at Meta, formerly known as Facebook. Mr. Hector Dutse, who is the Cyber Assurance Manager for Products and Services within the Telecoms Network, Unified Communications, Connectivity, and other areas. And last but not the least, Mr. Samuel Bartels, who is the Senior Regulatory Affairs Manager at MTN Ghana, a lawyer with specialization in technology, media, telecoms, and information privacy. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you, Teki. Thank you.
All right, so I don't know whether you can put your videos up. It would be nice to see your faces, you know. All right, so I just want to start off, you know, by asking all of you one basic question, and I think it has flowed from where I would left off, which is, what is industry really doing, especially when it comes to children, in helping us, you know, build the necessary child online protection tools, and then also tackle the issues of protection and resilience for children across Africa. So I think this is a question that will go for all three of you, since you're focusing on either different industries or also different companies. I think I can start with Hector, since I'm seeing your face on my screen. So,
Thank you, Teki, and thank you, Awo and the team, for inviting me. It's my pleasure to be here, and it's good you're organizing this, and safe internet day to everybody. Safe internet day to everybody. So I work within the telecommunications area, and I would say that our area has done and still continues to do a lot when it comes to providing solutions to child online protection and safety issues and topics. So one area that I can speak about, which is an area that I'm involved in as my day-to-day work, is in products and services, developing secure products and services. So what the telcos, in conjunction or in collaboration with other organizations, other institutions, other businesses, or other like governments do, is that we try to put out secure products and services that are tuned to supporting kids being protected online, and by doing that, and Techie, you would get where I'm trying to go to. It's more around making sure that children are not sharing so much of their information. Children are not making themselves vulnerable to the internet, how they engage on the internet, who they engage with, and all that. And that brings into light the privacy issues about being on the internet. So that is one of the areas that the telecommunications industry has been pushing. Another area is around connectivity, extending connectivity. So we try to extend connectivity to rural areas or areas that we may not have internet connectivity. So in order to support access to internet, and then so that they can also get access to the resources that need to run on internet. An example that I'm part of for the African region is Vodafone, the company that pays me. We are running a project to deliver internet connectivity using satellites in our sub-Saharan African region in the next few years. And that is something that we seek to do so that it would extend internet to those areas that are not covered, so that they can also have access to all the learning technologies that they need to have access to. So I would say those are just a few things that in my area, what I know we are doing, apart from the other collaborations with governments and other institutions that we are doing currently. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Hector. I'll come to you, Susan, as well. And like I said, it's the same question. It would be good to see what Meta is actually doing in this area of, helping with child protection and then building a resilient environment for better internet.
Absolutely. First of all, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here on Safer Internet Day. Of course, it's a pleasure to be with all of the previous speakers and even the current panelists. So, of course, we do play a role as a service provider for child online protection and safety. And one of the things, and one is our mission, is to build communities and create meaningful conversation. And of course, safety is a top priority when it comes to that. So first of all, our safety approach is really embedded into a 5 holistic approach, which is partnerships, policies, safety tools, our resources, and of course, our feedback. And one of the key things is that when it comes to partnerships is that we know we're not experts at everything. We know that we need to get to know from different safety experts or even organizations such as Child Online Africa on what are the things that we need to do. So that when we partner with such organizations and experts, we're able to further develop our policies and our technology. But also, not only that, we now have around 40,000 people working on safety and security, and we've invested more than $13 billion in teams and technology in this area since 2016. And of course, one of the things that then would also help us as an average user, for example, using this, regardless of the technology that we invest in when it comes to AI and artificial intelligence, it's also of writing clear policies, which are available publicly on fb.com/policies or /transparency. Now, one of the things is that we allow those community centers to be there so that everyone understands what are their do's and don'ts and what is their responsibility as a digital citizen when they're interacting online, and to create an empowering environment. But of course, that includes, of course, our tools and our safety features that we continuously keep updating after we listen to feedback and after we listen to the users who use our platforms, any of our platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Messenger. And one of the things when we come also then to resources, for example, at the end of last year, we just launched the digital literacy program dedicated to Sub-Saharan Africa. It's called My Digital World. And it provides even to educators, parents, caretakers, and teens and children themselves to understand not only how to use our platforms in a safer manner, but also how to use the internet in general in a safer manner. And we provide even more resources on that on our safety center on Instagram, or also on Facebook. These are just some of the things, but of course, the safety features and the privacy checkups and everything that we do on each platform, we try to support not only the child, but also the parent or the caretaker that is in charge of that child, in order to make sure that they are protected at all times.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. Samuel, it'd be good to tell us what MTN is doing in this space.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everybody. We are happy to be here as MTN. I think the first thing I would say is just to complement what everybody else has said, that for us, the overriding objective is that we are enabling things. We believe that every person deserves the benefits of a modern connected life. We provide connectivity and we provide other services as well. And the overall objective of what we do is that technology needs to be put in the hands of people, especially here in Africa, because it's an enabler of development and everything else. But then how do people use this technology safely, responsibly, and to do positive things as opposed to negative things? And then also seeing that within the ecosystem, there are several others who provide different services at different levels. And Meta just spoke. They provide a service over the connectivity that we provide. So the first thing is resilience. Just as we say privacy by design, there's also safety by design, because you want to be sure that the network you have is resilient enough so that people's safety will not be compromised if they are on your network. The other major issue is in awareness creation, which we do through collaborations with entities like Awu's entity. And then in 2019, at our group level, we announced our Child Online Protection partnership with the Internet Watch Foundation. This is a continent-wide partnership that was signed and through which we are participating in all of these things. But even at our level, we are constantly developing tools that will assist people who use our services. So for instance, parents use wireless broadband, they use fixed broadband, among other things. And there's a series of products that we are developing that allows them to, for instance, determine, as people would do in a workplace when they say a work person cannot go to certain sites, which sites their children, for instance, can visit. But in the awareness creation, I think one of the things we are doing now is to let people know that what happens offline is really an extension of what happens online is really an extension of what happens online. So you'd have seen that a lot of telecom companies in Europe, for instance, are preaching what we call digital parenting, which is to equip parents within the tools to do what they have done offline up till now online. Because as you know, there was a time when parenting was different, mostly was offline. But now you have your child saying, can I show you something I'm doing on TikTok? Can I show you my YouTube channel? And the parent is going, you have a YouTube channel, what does that even mean? And we feel that these people are customers. And if we equip them with the requisite knowledge, this will allow them to be the primary people who supervise their children to ensure that they are protected. Finally, let me just mention that the other key thing is on the issue of digital identity. And so you'd have realized, for instance, that we are partnering with government on the same re-registration exercise, among other things we are doing to ensure, for instance, that the data we have is accurate enough. Because one of the biggest challenges is to determine who is online, how old they are, and how to verify information that people give, because people are posing as all kinds of people. When we have the requisite data and there's enough genuine digital identification that you can verify, this is one step towards ensuring safety online. Thank you very much, Tiki.
Now I'm coming to the hard questions, because I can see all of you telling us the narrative. But in reality, Africa is a very broad and a very diverse area. even if you take my country alone, Ghana, we have various languages. And so, and awareness creation, as all of you as highly stated, is a very, very important process in this. So how are you really engaging with the communities that you're in? I want to start with Susan, then I'll come to Hector and Sam.
Yeah, so really, can you just repeat the question? Sorry, I was cutting out.
So I was essentially saying that Africa is very diverse and very broad, even along language. Yeah. I'm sure that the language that we're even communicating with this morning, very few, if you look at the entire population of our continent, yes, may be speaking in these languages. So we have our indigenous languages, and then we have a majority of these people are all using or engaging with your platforms. Yeah. So how are you going about your awareness creation activities, which is very critical, you know, in order to build the necessary partnerships to ensure that our children are safe online?
Absolutely. So this is definitely one of the things that we're very sensitive towards. Other than that, our content reviewers can speak over 90 languages in order to check anything that is reported and to proactively detect any violations. One of the key things also that when we partner in different countries with different partners, we try to make sure and like explore what languages are being spoken and how many languages can we translate our resources to, so that more and more people can understand it. Our main aim is not to come and just translate it to the official language and that's it, because we know that this is not really the case, because when on our platforms, we see how many people are engaging in different languages. So, and also that's why our community standards, for example, are translated to so many languages, and we are continuously making them available even to more and more languages. So for example, just today, we launched it even in Farsi or Persian, and another more indigenous language in India. So we are continuously investing into that, hiring more people and getting more people from a security and safety perspective, but also from our partnerships. And our partners, we make sure that our partners are aware of that sensitivity. And that's why we partner with in-country partners, and rather than just bringing someone internationally to implement something in a country that they do not know much about. So localization for sure is very crucial for us.
Thank you, Susan. I just want to ask a bit more, you know, specific questions. So can you tell us when it comes to especially your safety and security standards, about how many languages you think you've been able to cover across Africa? Are you able to?
Unfortunately, we do not give exact data and numbers with regards to that, but if it's made available, for sure, we do share it. One of the things instead, what we do is we share our quarterly community standards enforcement report, where you can see how much we have enforced upon against bullying and harassment or any other violations on our reports. And the next report is coming up soon.
Very well, thank you. Hector?
Thank you, Teki. So as I think I would align with what Susan just mentioned. So localization is very, very important. So across the world, what we would do from a security point of view is to ensure that when we are designing products and services like this for children or for consumers, whether they are the less the marginalized, as in the ones in the vulnerable areas, we try not to do it on just a global level. We try to localize, because the issues you find in one continent may not be the issues you find in another continent. It might be different, the way they understand things, the way they classify data, what is personal information to them, what is personal data to them. So we try as much as possible to put localization in the development of products and services, so that it would reflect what areas that we are going into, and that reflect in the security. So for example, a few years ago, I was working on a project for Ghana. So it was I don't know whether anybody here on the platform knows about it, the Vodafone Instant Schools project. And from a group point of view, I was on the group side, doing a security assessment of that product, it was more of like, okay, this is going to be collecting personal data, data of the children in the schools that this product is going to be deployed to. But when we went down to the local market level and in the various local market, and they looked at it from a security point of view, they mentioned that, okay, because the service will be localized within Vodafone itself and not in the cloud, let's say the risk wasn't as high as I put it, because I was looking at it from a global point of view, but they looked at it from a local point of view. So localization is very, very key in terms of languages, in terms of especially in terms of languages, in terms of let's say demographics. I will be unable to sort of like go deep into those statistics or those metrics. I can only speak from a security point of view and what we do when we are trying to assess and look at risk assess or security assess products and services that we try and develop in such situations for our kids, for the vulnerable, that's the old, and for other areas like the LGBTQI group and all that. Yeah. So.
All right. Thank you very much, Hector. Sam, you are on mute, please.
Sorry, I have unmuted now. I think in all of this, one of the key things is the objective of protection being balanced with the objective of participation. You know, as technology companies, as I mentioned, we enable a lot of things. And in increasing participation, we see opportunities as well in enhancing the protections. And in doing that, we are not just looking at solutions that are limited to technology, because that seems to be the default, where you would want to set something that stops something. But we see that behavioral change, behavioral improvements, and acquisition of new skills, and I spoke about digital parenting, is extremely important. And so embedded within the sales of our products and services is letting people know what you can do. So for instance, if you are buying a router or a wireless 4G, you know the scope of what you can do, what you can tune and not tune within the system in order to block out particular websites or anything of the sort. We spoke about localization. We use our call centers a lot, and we encourage customers either through relationship managers or through the call center. If you are not too sure about anything, just call any of the call centers, and there are multiple Ghanaian languages that you can speak to. So anybody can call into the call centers and say, look, I'm not too sure. This is the solution I want. How can you help me? And they will be more than willing to help. And that's been one of the ways we have reached a lot of people. We also have to realize that having a holistic or inclusive solution and engaging people at different levels also means realizing where we are in the value chain. And again, you provide connectivity, but there are web hosts, there are content hosts, there are content providers, there are content generators, and we collaborate horizontally with all these people because we know that based on the service we provide, we don't see the content they provide, they put on, and they are in a better position. However, if at all our levels we're able to put something together, that helps. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, within this period, especially in education, we realized that there's a huge gap, which requires that solutions should not just be ones that are developed and picked off the shelf, but must be based on the gaps that we are seeing on the ground. So within that period, MTN zero-rated a lot of sites for educational purposes. And we realized that, even whilst you had generated site, people had come up, these are young people, come up with very innovative ways of finding ways to use that zero rating to go on to other spaces that you did not designate this to be used for, which feedback and realization helped us tighten the screws among some of these ones. And then in our sales teams and the people on the ground interacting with different people, our foundation, which has a number of ICT facilities across the country, interacting with people on the ground, gave feedback that suggested that there's definitely a divide in terms of technological skills. Some of the tech savvy things we speak about can only be applied by a select group of people who actually know the technology and already have access to the internet. But then the period also revealed that there's another class of people, category of people, children who are school children, for instance, who never had access. And because of the pandemic and the shifts, they now started using their parents' phone and other things to access the internet. And these are people without any prior knowledge, without any digital education whatsoever. And there was a level of vulnerability they were exposed to because this was the first time they were using all these exciting things. And they were experimenting with a lot of things. So this helped us in our feedback education and engaging people at that level to say, look, this is what you can do with what is in your hand. This is what you cannot do with this is in your hand. And we found that engaging people at that community level, empowering sales team, customer care teams, people who interact with these people regularly to give them tips on how best you can use the technology you have, has been direct and has been extremely effective, and has helped us go past the gap that comes with doing everything online or sticking to people who already have known the technology for a while and who know how to navigate around the technology.
Thank you very much, Sam, but there's a question on the floor, and whilst I'm asking that question, I think we have about 10 minutes and there's supposed to be an open discussion. So this is where I will use the opportunity to ask everyone here to put their questions out so that I'll share it with our panelists, then we can get some response. But Sam, the question is whether you do have similar products in other African markets, the one you just mentioned?
Well, I know that a lot of the markets have developed different things, but apart from the initiatives, like what we do with Internet Watch Foundation at group level, at the local level, each business develops a solution based on what the local environment is and then what the challenges are. As I mentioned earlier on, it's important that we don't have off-the-shelf solutions, but we have solutions that are actually addressing specific problems in our local environment. So what we have developed is based on the challenges that we have seen here in Ghana.
Well, thank you very much. On that note, I actually have a pressing question, and I think this is more targeted at Meta, but I believe all of you can make inputs. And just yesterday, I was having a conversation around the lack of uniformity sometimes around some of these policies. I know it is informed usually by country-specific legislations and other things. But, when it comes to protection, it's protection. When it comes to safety, it is safety. And I was recently in Europe, and I realized that the moment I landed in Europe, almost all my devices, came back up. All the policies, gave me different options and gave me more options to decide what I want. The information there was much clearer. And then when I came back into my country, it changed. How are you addressing these issues, especially when it comes to child safety? Because I think that a child, a safe child in Africa, is equal to a safe child in Europe. I mean, at the end of the day, the bottom line is keeping our children safe. So how are you addressing, organizations such as yours, addressing this issue of safety, which I see as a universal thing? Yes, there may be differences in laws around what consenting age is and the like, but it is how are we addressing it? Because the impression that is given in the space is that when it comes to certain countries, for instance, when you go to communities like Europe, the level offered to child protection is much higher. The level of engagement, of course, informed by their laws, is much higher. But organizations like yours are already providing these safety standards. So what stops us from having similar safety protocols and tools across Africa?
Thank you, Taki, for your question and your observation. But honestly, child protection for us is a global priority, and actually our policies are global policies. They are not differentiating between different countries or markets. So even if it's with regards to age appropriation or the age requirement, that might be specific to the legislation that is in every country. However, when it comes to reporting, we're immediately reporting and taking any cyber tips that has to do with child sexual abuse material or even non-sexual abuse material immediately to NCMEC across any market that comes to us. If anything, we just are proactively detecting in all markets in different languages in any of the images or videos. So definitely we do not differentiate between markets because again, one content of child abuse is just enough, is more than enough for us to act upon it. So and we're definitely against any child sexual abuse material or any child abuse that happens on our platforms. So yes, maybe some of the resources provided or the warnings that happen that come up to you as a user, as a general user for safety might differ, but definitely not when it comes to child online protection. This is something that is just that what we are doing more in Africa is probably just the awareness level or the reporting, because unfortunately across the region that I manage, Africa, Middle East, and Turkey, we have the least amount of reports coming through. And that's not because of anything, it's just because of increasing awareness about the importance of reporting is what we're doing right now. And that's what we're increasingly doing. But it's definitely uniform.
Sam, and then
I just venture an opinion here to say that Europe has had the opportunity to evolve and just as in other areas like trade, competition, and privacy, Europe has a continent-wide policy which is binding. And here in Africa, we tend to struggle to put together continental-wide legislation or anything of the sort. And then there's the usual politics as to how it should be applied and how it should be adopted within countries. So that sets us back a little. Within country as well, I think I speak for everyone when I say that despite governments and the state institutions' good intentions, they are not always as quick off the mark as industry, which is why I think that the issue of self-regulation, co-regulation, proactive initiatives are extremely important for industry in doing these things. We are at a more granular level, we interact with people, we know what the challenges are. And it helps because here in Ghana, when you talk about child online, people tend to think legislation can solve everything, but we know that that cannot solve anything. And that's where, people like African Digital Rights Hub, AWU's, advocacy campaign throughout and all that becomes very important. So I think as industry, although there has been a lot of collaboration, there can be greater collaboration and more novel solutions to help address people. Taking note also that there's a general illiteracy level within the country. When I say literacy, not just schooling, but digital illiteracy, and people are now becoming familiar with a lot of the technologies. And so we need to find a way of chunk by chunk feeding people with what they need in order to address this. Teachers, parents, when you look at the ITU guidelines, it mentions industry, it mentions all these categories of people. We need to have tailor-made ways of empowering these people so that our collective efforts would yield solutions, because no one industry or institution can solve this. That'll be my opinion on that.
Hector?
Thank you, Teki. I think I side 100% with Samuel and Suzanne on the opinions that they've shared. From a cybersecurity point of view, I think I don't see it differently. The requirements need to be the same across board, whether it's in Europe, Asia, or it's in Africa. Just like probably the privacy topics may also be. The reason is if we are trying to build a safer environment or a more secure environment for our consumers, especially the children, the young ones, then we need to ensure that the requirements that we are pushing across board when it comes to security, or when it comes or cyber security specifically, is the same across board, and it's something that is protecting all the consumers that we are providing services to. The tech companies, in a way, we need to come to that point to accept that, yes, we are providing services to our consumers or our enterprises, and these services, one way or the other, has impact on them. The impacts could be positive, and then the impact could be negative. Where do you want to push the line? Do we want to put more focus on the negatives that it brings? Yes, I think that's a way we should go. And from a security point of view, where I sit, where I deal with on a day-to-day, I would say we need to continue developing secure products that would fish out all the bad people, products that will protect our kids, products that will protect our populace, and it shouldn't just be on like market by market basis, but it should be across board. Also, like Samuel said, in Africa, we are more like we are not so open to regulations being put in place. We just have all the policies written nicely, and nobody is seeking to push them out and make them work for us, unlike it's done in Europe. So we need to work with the government agencies. We need to work with like civil society, public sector. We need to work with everybody that is well known in the industry, so that we can come out with policies, technological products that would enable us protect and safeguard our kids when they are online and even offline. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Our time has run out, but I'm begging Sam for 3 more minutes because we have one question here. So I just want you, gentlemen and lady, to use this as your closing remark. A minute each. Please don't go beyond that, otherwise we'll be in trouble with Samuel here. So the question is, how are initiatives by service providers informed by research? Use this as your concluding remarks as well. I'll start with you, Susan.
So I think my final remarks is it's something we always try to remind with is report. If any violations to our community standards is you notice any of that, that's something that we just want this region and every region around is to report and to feel comfortable reporting on our platforms. Another thing is, as I really agree with Hector and Samuel about the collaboration, the cross-industry collaboration. We cannot achieve anything if we're working in silos. So this is something that we really stand with, which is the collaboration across industries and across even other stakeholders, not only industry, so even policymakers, in order to really tackle any child abuse online, but also to promote a safer and empowering environment for the next generations.
The question that was out there that I asked is that how are your initiatives informed by research? So you can just end on that, maybe a second. So.
Yes. So this is definitely something that we cover very heavily, is exactly as I mentioned, is through our partnerships. So our partnerships is also based on academic researchers, safety policy experts. So those are all backed by research. We do sometimes do in-house research, but this is again not. It's really specific again on markets and again in partnerships with specific partners that we deal with. And of course, feedback from our community is very crucial. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Hector.
So we do a lot of research, and that is very important to know in knowing what to push out and what not to push out, how to develop something and how not to develop it. So for example, there's a partnership Vodafone has with Meta when it comes to pushing connectivity across Africa, and it's called Open RAN, telecoms infrastructure project, where Meta is leading and Vodafone is part of that initiative. So Vodafone, Meta and other companies, operators have come together and they are sort of like pushing out such agenda to push connectivity. There are other areas too, just like Vodafone and AST, Space Mobile, who are trying to put satellites into the into orbit so that rural areas within Africa can get internet. So all this is based around research and development that has gone on in the background to be able to know what to push out. Security also is the same thing. We push out requirements based on the areas, based on the business requirements of the specific areas that we try to go into. So research is very, very key to what is pushed out from a tech companies or technological point of view. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Sam?
I have to say that data is extremely important to what we do. I mean, there's a lot of data already that you sit on based on what you see. But as I mentioned, again, there's also research that may be informal because of the people we have on the ground and what they're able to glean from people. And then you have institutions like the National Communications Authority, who have what we call the annual household survey on ICT. This is usually to determine individual ownership of devices, SIM cards, computers, internet access, and all that within any particular household. Last edition was released in 2019. I'm sure they are doing another one. So we rely on regulators like the NCA for that information. And then the experts in the field, civil society and campaigners and advocates such as yourself who are already on the ground. And I think there will be more of that because in terms of trends, in terms of causality, and in terms of impact, there are more specific things that we need to know in order to develop our policies and also our interventions further. So we'll continue to count on this partnership to have the requisite information so that interventions will be more targeted as opposed to more generalized. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I will hand back, the event to Samuel, and please forgive me for going over by, I think, 3 minutes.
Yes, 3 minutes.
3 minutes. All right.
Thank you for such a great work done, and thank you to Samuel, Hector, and Susan for the great insights as well. It's now time to receive the closing remarks, and I would like to invite our dear Awo to kindly conclude today's forum for us. Awo.
Hey, I'm here. I was also looking out for Mr. Umo and Serge. So I would take it. Right. I don't know, we never thought this day was going to come and to pass this fast. And we thank you all for making time to be with us. But then a couple of key things that came up in this discussion. The last bit was every intervention we are putting in place or we have should be informed by research. And so the research sometimes could not necessarily be the scientific research. Even by observation, we can deploy people to observe or interact and get us the necessary feedback we need before we design a solution. And by so doing, it will go a long way to impacting the lives of the people, the young person in Africa. And there was also a call for us to, I put it this way, team up, stay committed, and co-create. So in our case to doing that, we need to take into consideration the language needs of the consumer or the end users, their skills level, their economic conditions, their maturity or their age. And when we do that, we'll go a long way to creating a better internet for the African child. And by extension, the Africa we want. It's only possible if we as stakeholders could be deliberate at our effort in making things happen in the interest of the child. Again, there was also the need for us to promote parent-teacher collaboration. If teachers can play the backstopping role or stop-gapping role, whichever way you want to call it, in the lives of parents who might not have access to the information or might not be educated enough, it will be helpful in addressing some of the issues. And there is also the need to encourage frequent or regular training or capacity building for teachers, parents, and children themselves, which should also result in making safety a lifestyle at all levels. And we should not just monitor the children, let's supervise them. So we blend supervision and monitoring of our young people as they engage online. Restriction is not the way to go, but communication is key in addressing issues. And it's also important that we reach out to the providers, the telecom companies that are providing the platform for us. Most of them have solutions that we don't engage them on, or solutions that we don't make use of. But then they've made us aware this afternoon that there are solutions almost for anything and everything, just as there are apps for anything and everything now. So let's ask the right question, be it in our local languages. They'll be more than willing to provide the support we would need. That is what I have by way of closing remark, and I find this discussion very useful. Some of these will be translated into other smaller readable documents that might make way to the various platforms, and we'll keep you posted on them. And finally, I just want to inform you about our next Africa-wide event, which will happen in July, which is the Africa Week of Action for Child Online Protection. So let's mark our calendars in anticipation for that. So over to you, Sam. I don't know if Mr. Omo and Serge are back.
I can't see them. I can't see them.
Okay,
Anyway,
so on this note, I would like to thank our speakers, especially our industry speakers, because they have been the busiest to catch, but then they made time to be with us. We appreciate your commitment. NCC, we are not done yet. We still have a deal on Saturday. So we will be connecting after this to see how we pull that through. Our various partners, Sam has already acknowledged you at the earlier stage, so I wouldn't repeat that. But then we are so grateful and we thank you. We hope that next time when we call you for an upgrade of this conversation, you wouldn't hesitate, but then you'll make time for us. So from me, from the entire partners, Africa Safer Internet Day partners, and then from the Africa child, the child in Africa, or the young person in your community, we say thank you. God bless you.
Thank you all. Have a lovely day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
very much.